We trusted you with our dog, and now he's gone forever." The cry tears through the silence. On the table lies an empty leash, the owners in tears. In their eyes, pain and fury blended into one scream of the heart. He was healthy, happy, running and playing every day. How could he die in your hotel? The words strike like both accusation and verdict. No one in the room can remain indifferent. Who is to blame? Those who promised care and safety? Or the system itself, where trust turns into betrayal? And above all, will there be justice? They were leaving for just 1 week. The suitcases were packed, the tickets printed, and their beloved dog paced nervously around the house, wagging his tail and watching every movement. He always sensed when something unusual was happening. This time, he wasn't going on the trip. The family had spent days searching for a safe place, making calls, reading reviews, asking neighbors. In the end, they chose what looked like the best option, an elite pet hotel, advertised as a paradise for animals. The brochure was convincing. Spacious rooms instead of cages, daily walks in the garden, round-the-clock supervision, even photo updates for the owners so they could relax while away. It was expensive, more than they had planned to pay, but the decision was simple. He's part of our family. We want him to have the best, the father said as they signed the contract. When they dropped him off, the receptionist smiled warmly, promising that everything would be taken care of. "Don't worry, he'll feel at home here. We treat every pet like our own." The family left with heavy hearts, but also with relief, telling themselves they had made the right choice. The first few days went by without incident. No alarming calls, no messages. They assumed no news meant everything was fine. Yet, somewhere in the back of their minds, a quiet unease lingered. Why hadn't the promised photo updates arrived? Why hadn't anyone checked in, even once? On the 7th day, the phone rang. The mother answered, cheerful at first. But the voice on the other end was flat, almost rehearsed. "We're very sorry. Your dog passed away during the night." The world collapsed in an instant. She froze, gripping the phone, unable to breathe. What? He was healthy. What happened? The reply was curt, emotionless. It was sudden. He must have had an illness. He simply didn't wake up. And then silence. No details, no comfort, just emptiness. Panic and disbelief swept over the family. Just a week earlier, the dog had been at the vet. The report was clear. No illness, no issues, a perfectly healthy animal. They rushed back home, abandoning their trip, and went straight to the pet hotel. What they found was even more unbearable. No one greeted them with compassion. Instead, staff muttered excuses. "We did everything we could. These things happen." No emergency call had been made. No vet had been contacted. No one had even warned them when the dog supposedly became ill. And then they saw the kennel. The water bowl was overturned dry. The bedding was dirty and cold. There were no signs of the long walks they had been promised. Their dog hadn't died of some mysterious illness. He had been neglected. All that remained was an empty leash handed back across the counter, as if it were nothing more than a lost object. But for the family, it was a symbol of betrayal. They had entrusted their companion's life to people who promised love and care. And now, trust was shattered, replaced only with grief and unbearable guilt. When the owners stormed into the pet hotel, their voices shook the lobby like thunder. "Why didn't you call us? Why are we only hearing about this now, when nothing can be changed?" The administrator froze, shifting nervously behind the counter, and muttered without looking them in the eye. "We thought it wouldn't make a difference. He just stopped breathing in his sleep." The words sliced through the air like an icy blade. Just stopped breathing? The dog had been healthy, playful, and full of energy just days before. A dog who had been declared perfectly fit by a veterinarian 1 week earlier did not simply stop breathing. The owner slammed a folder of papers on the counter. The sound echoed through the room. "Look at this. Veterinary records from a full checkup, dated 7 days before we left him here. No illnesses, no concerns. He was completely healthy." The staff exchanged uneasy glances, but one of them insisted flatly, "Sometimes these things happen suddenly. We did everything we could." Every dismissive word deepened the owner's rage. The mistress's voice cracked with fury and grief. "Where is his body? We want to take him for an autopsy. We have the right to know the truth." The room went quiet. One staff member shifted uncomfortably, stammering, The body has already been sent for cremation. The owners froze in shock. What do you mean, already sent? We never signed anything. That decision was ours, not yours. The silence that followed was worse than words. The husband's fists clenched. The wife's face turned pale, tears running down her cheeks as her voice broke into a scream. You didn't even give us the chance to say goodbye. You took away his life, and now you've taken away the truth. The accusations flew like arrows. You didn't walk him, you didn't feed him properly, you didn't even give him water. The staff defended themselves with rehearsed phrases. We always take care of the animals. We walked him twice a day. He had food and water. But their words crumbled when evidence began to appear online. Photos taken secretly by other guests surfaced in local social media groups. In one, the dog was seen locked in a small, dirty cage, his bowl tipped over and dry. In another, he sat staring at the camera, his eyes exhausted, pleading, and hopeless. The images spread rapidly. Comments poured in. I left my cat there too. She came back with fleas. My dog got sick after staying at that hotel. This place is a nightmare. They lie to everyone. The tide was turning. The pet hotel's carefully built reputation began to crumble under the weight of testimony. Friends rushed to the couple's side. One of them, visibly shaken, said, "We've been hearing rumors about this place for years. People complained, but no one took it seriously. Now look what's happened. Your tragedy is proof." The owners felt their grief sharpen into determination. This was no longer just about their loss. It was about exposing the truth so no one else would suffer the same betrayal. That evening, they drafted a formal complaint. In it, they demanded $5,000 in compensation, not for the money itself, but as recognition of the life stolen from them and the lies that followed. They also demanded a public admission of guilt, so the community would know what really happened. You promised care, the letter read, but you delivered neglect and death. You took our trust, and you destroyed it. You must be held accountable. The pet hotel management responded with more denials. They insisted the dog's death had been sudden, unavoidable, and tragic. But the more they spoke, the less anyone believed them. Their explanations sounded hollow against the weight of veterinary records, photographs, and testimonies. Every attempt to silence the truth only fueled the fire. The owners, now united with a growing number of supporters, vowed to take their fight further. They looked once more at the empty leash lying on their kitchen table that night. It was no longer just a reminder of their beloved dog. It had become a symbol of injustice. And they knew one thing with absolute clarity. This battle would end in court. The courtroom was packed. Some had come to support the owners, others out of curiosity. The scandal with the pet hotel had already spread across social media, and reporters lingered at the doors, eager to capture every detail. But inside, the air was heavy and tense, like the silence before a storm. The hotel's representatives sat with stone faces. Their lawyer rose first, placing a thick folder on the table. My clients fulfilled their responsibilities faithfully, he declared with confidence. Here are the records of daily walks, feedings, and water checks. Everything is documented. He opened the logs, neat tables filled with dates, tidy check marks beside walk, feeding, water. But the pages looked suspiciously identical, as if someone had copied the same entry day after day. The judge frowned. And this is the entirety of your evidence. The lawyer nodded. A murmur spread through the audience. People could see the papers for what they were, a clumsy attempt to cover negligence. Then it was the owner's turn. The husband stood, clutching a stack of photographs pulled from the internet. His voice trembled, but each word hit like a hammer. This is reality. These are pictures taken by other clients. An empty bowl, a cage, our friend, without water, without care. The judge examined the photographs for a long moment. In one, the dog stared directly at the camera, eyes tired, resigned. The silence in the courtroom was broken only by the soft sobs of the mistress. Next came the text messages. The owners handed over their correspondence with the hotel staff. The judge flipped through them. Short, cold replies, full of excuses. Nowhere was there a word about illness or concern. No calls, no warnings, no attempt to summon a veterinarian. Then the expert witness was called. A veterinarian, a middle-aged woman in a crisp white coat. She stepped to the stand, placing documents in front of her, and spoke with firm, steady authority. Based on the evidence, This dog did not die of a sudden illness. The symptoms point to dehydration. This was not chance. It was the result of prolonged neglect. Her words hit the courtroom like a thunderclap. Someone shook their head. Another whispered, "I knew it." But there was more. The owners produced receipts, the extras they had paid for when leaving their dog. Additional services, daily walks, playtime, special nutrition. Hundreds of dollars charged on top of the base fee. "This is what we paid for," the husband said, holding the receipts high so everyone could see. "And this is what we got, an empty cage and death." The judge took the receipts, carefully comparing them to the hotel's neatly written logs. The contrast was stark. The lie was undeniable. The tension in the room was at its peak. Silence gripped the audience. The mistress sobbed quietly, clutching the empty leash in her hands. The judge sat for a long while, reviewing the evidence once more. His face remained stern, but his eyes told the truth. The deception had been exposed, the reality laid bare. In that heavy silence, everyone in the room held their breath, waiting for the verdict. The judge lifted his eyes from the papers. The courtroom was silent, so still it felt as if no one dared to breathe. His voice cut through the air, firm and cold, like the strike of a gavel. "The court orders Pet Hotel to pay the plaintiffs $5,000 in damages and to bear responsibility for negligence." The words seemed to slice through the heavy atmosphere. A murmur spread across the room. Some nodded, some turned away, but everyone understood. Justice had been served. The owners could no longer hold back their tears. The mistress clutched a photograph of their dog. Happy, alive, forever captured the way she wanted to remember him. The master held her hand tightly, as if promising, "You're not alone anymore. We made it." They walked out of the courtroom slowly, heads lowered, but for the first time in a long while, there was a faint glimmer of relief on their faces. Money would not bring their friend back, nor erase the guilt and pain. But the judge's decision was an acknowledgement that his life mattered. The empty leash was no longer just a reminder of loss. It had become a symbol of a fight they had not been afraid to carry to the very end. And yet, one question lingered, a question not just for them, but for everyone who heard their story. Would you trust your dog to strangers?